We're creating this presentation as an information resource to enable you to get better control of your cooling and heating costs while you enjoy the comfort of your home. A basic law of physics is that heat always moves to cold. In the summertime, heat wants to get inside your cool house. In the wintertime, heat wants to get outside of your warm house. So the key to reducing utility costs is effective heat management. The common knowledge solution is add more insulation. More is not always better. Let's take a look at heat. In the house we have three kinds of heat. We have conductive heat, convective heat, and radiant heat. For illustration purposes, I'm walking into the house and there's a fire going in the fireplace. I feel the radiant heat on my body and my face. It's warming me up. I look into the fireplace and I see the smoke going up the chimney. That's convective heat. I take a poker and I put it in the fire. I feel the heat coming up and warming my hand. That's conductive heat. And in your house, the purpose of insulation in your house is to delay conductive heat loss. As temperature and humidity increase, the ability for fiberglass insulation to delay conductive heat loss is dramatically reduced. In summer, 93% of the heat getting in the attic is radiant heat. The heat heats up the insulation absorbs it and then releases into the inside of the house. In the winter, 50 to 75% of the heat loss is radiant heat. The insulation in the attic absorbs it and releases it into the attic. Radiant barrier is your home's first line of defense against radiant heat gain and radiant heat loss. The purpose of a radiant barrier is to reflect radiant heat. In the summer, 95% of this radiant heat is reflected back to its source, which reduces the amount of heat that the installation has to manage, which helps to delay the transfer into your living space. In the winter, radiant barrier reflects this heat back into the living space. 95% of this heat back into the living space. Unlike fiberglass insulation, the radiant barrier's efficiency is not affected by humidity or temperature increases. The hotter it gets, the better it works. The colder it gets, the better it works. What's the R value? When discussing insulation, whether it's the expensive foam, blown in, or fiberglass bat insulation, the R value is a measurement of its effectiveness. But all that R value tells you is how long the insulation delays the heat transfer from your attic to your living space. In effect, it buys you time. Radiant barrier doesn't delay the transfer of heat. It immediately reflects it back to its source. That's the big difference. And although our radiant barrier products do have an R value for building code purposes, comparing traditional insulation to radiant barrier is like comparing apples to oranges. Traditional insulation only delays heat transfer. Radiant barrier stops it and reflects it back to its source. Installing a radiant barrier in your attic reduces the amount of radiant heat gain in the summer, which reduces the air conditioner runtime, which reduces the amount of electricity you use, and it keeps your home nice, cool, and comfortable. In the winter, the radiant barrier in your home reduces the amount of radiant heat lost through the attic, which reduces the heating system's runtime and your utility costs while keeping your home warm and comfortable. Radiant barrier may be stapled to the rafters or laid upon the insulation in your attic. Radiant barrier is an investment, not a cost. When you install a radiant barrier in your home, it provides a permanent reduction in your utility costs for the life of your home. Energy costs continue to rise and are predicted to double in the next 5 years. As energy costs rise, the dollar amount of your savings also rises. Act today, start saving money right away.